Well, 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 the once homely Nissan Sentra seems to have picked up some lines. It also lost a lot of weight, shed a little power, and picked up some Google tech. That's a pretty good set of headlines for 2013. Let's drive this 13 Sentra SL and check the tech. Now, if you're wondering why this Sentra looks more upscale but can't put your finger on it, it's basically one word: Infiniti DNA. Nissan's been bringing a lot of these styling cues and the basic look of Infinitis inside and out down into the Nissan line from the Infiniti brand. And this car has shown a dramatic change because of that. Now inside, the Infiniti touches continue. Not a ton of them in this price class, but the gauges are more Infiniti-like. Everything's much more grown up in here than you typically saw in a Nissan. And check this out. They must be watching my videos. They finally did something to improve the maps. By the way, the navigation rig, as you can see, is SD card based. Lots of car makers are doing that now. I think Ford was the first, but now everyone's getting on board. Now, to have navigation, that means we have this 6-inch Nissan Connect head unit. This is optional. You won't have this for sure. You'll have a 4.3 smaller LCD if you really go base on one of these cars. Let's start off with that navigation system. And one of the things I like about the way this thing operates is it's very quick, partly because of that SD card, partly because they've obviously got enough processing power behind it. Now, where this unit's really cool and really dopey is here when you go to these Google functions. We have Google Send to Car, and more interestingly, Google POIs, points of interest. Let's do a search. Let's just say I'm going to go something generic like a pizza joint. And I start my search. What's going to happen is a phone call is going to initiate on my connected paired device. This thing does not use the data connection per se as much as it does what's basically a modem connection over the voice network. As a result, it's slower than hell. I've sat here and watched this thing take literally minutes to go out, do the search, pull some results, and then cache the rest of them. And worse than that, once you get to a result you're interested in, it doesn't have that nice, rich, contextual stuff that Google's known for. Where are the ratings? Where's Street View? I can see a map, but where's all that stuff? A couple other gripes on this: you cannot enter anything in that POI Google window while the car is moving. That means the passenger can't either. That's a fail. And voice command does not tie into the Google services. Everything else, but not that. So it's basically a pull over and use it experience for results that I find not worth it. Now on to our media sources. All the big boys are here with the exception of HD radio. We've got satellite radio, AM and FM, single slot CD above it right there. And under aux, you rotate through several modern sources, including your iPod or USB device. I've got an iPod in now. Tagging looks fine. You've also got Pandora support, though it will not work on my Android phone for whatever reason. And you have Bluetooth streaming as well. And the MetaTag support on that is also quite good. Oh, by the way, the Bluetooth support on this guy also includes text message handling, and you can type in a handful of custom text message replies so you can actually send something back that makes sense in your words. A lot of cars give you canned replies that are so generic you'd never actually send one. Now, one choice on the gearbox, this controller right here is for your Cvt Gearbox, which is the only way to go in this vehicle. No gate, notice that, no shifter paddles, but you do have a sport mode button over here, which is going to change some powertrain performance and shift points and throttle response. We'll check that on the road in a minute. Backup camera is part of a package that we'll talk about momentarily, and it's pretty straightforward. You got the ability to turn on and off some guidelines. There's no multi-view, there's no trajectory. It's basically distance on or distance off, but at least it's in there. And I mentioned at the top, the Sentra's actually lost a few horsepower since last model. We had a pretty petite motor here, a 1.8 liter inline 4, with nothing real tricky about it. No turbocharging, no direct injection, just a good old modern inline 4. But at 130 horse and 128 foot-pounds of torque, those numbers are pretty modest, which yields great MPG, 3039. While getting this 2,850-pound car, it's about 150 less than the outgoing model, up to 60 in a little under 10 seconds. Not sprightly, but not a slug either. We'll see how it actually drives on the road. And as you can imagine, it's front-wheel drive only, no all-wheel drive option or anything like that. Let's go see how that transmission, that sport mode, and that eco mode all work on the road. On the road, right off the bat, you're clearly aware this car is tuned for economy and not any kind of performance, even though it's got a sport mode, and we'll try that out in a moment. Now, Nissan generally does CVTs well. This one does well, although CVTs sometimes can get caught on their own flat-footedness. That doesn't happen often with this. It's still about as good as they get in the industry. So, eco mode, you hit that and you feel a noticeable deadening of the powertrain response. It's as if the pedal wants to think for a minute and let you think for a minute. Do you really want to use that gasoline to accelerate right now? Well, you stay on it and it eventually will deliver. Same thing goes for deceleration. It starts to really kind of become a non-decelerating engine. Very little compression braking. Switch over to sports and you have a real difference in the throttle responsiveness, how it holds higher RPMs. There aren't really shifts on a CVT the way there are in a geared gearbox. But it's still the same engine. There's not a lot of sap in there. So that's kind of a silly mode to me. What you should appreciate about this car is its understated interior, good sight lines, better than most all the way around, nice high airy greenhouse, a very well-balanced ride. It's not a sloppy ride at all, even though it's not a sporting undercarriage. And it's built real solidly, at least off the factory line like this. Look, this Sentra is just a nice place to sit while you're doing your commute. And that's 80% of what 80% of cars have to do. Okay, let's price this 13 Sentra. We have an SL here, the top trim to start with, 20,004 delivered. 2 packages to go CNET style. First, add in premium, $1,200 that gets you a glass moonroof and the upgraded Bose audio. I would do that, it's a fair price. Here's the one you have to get, the navigation package. It gets you navigation, obviously, a 6-inch, that touch LCD that we saw that had such great response, the Google services for better or for worse, Bluetooth streaming, text message support, Pandora support, backup camera for $650. What? I thought it was a typo. I thought they left off a 1 or even a 2 and it wouldn't be a bad value, but it's $650. This Sentra is a nice car all around. Nothing about it stands out in particular, but it's a very livable everyday car. It's a tremendous refresh, and when you get it with that navigation package, you feel like you stole some tech legally.